Time is 7:02 p.m. on Monday, April 13th, 2026. I'd like to call this Heritage Advisory Committee meeting to order. First thing we always do is a land acknowledgement, and these people present board of this and don't pay much attention, but it's very important in my the town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Virgin Island, as well as many other nations, whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past rights to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Let it be. So, I need two people to approve the agenda. Thank you. So are there any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Receipt of the minutes. These are from February 9th, 2026. I need a motion to receive the meeting, so I would need a mover and a second. Thank you. All any questions or comments? All those in favor? Thank you, that carries. We have two delegations this evening, Christopher Watts, the Aurora Heritage Authority, three interpretive Plaques. Chris, I don't know if there's a table. Oh, there's a chair at the table. You have 5 minutes, as you know.
Yep, I understand. I'll probably go faster because I'm not doing slides this evening, but I'm going to take you guys quickly through town's interpretive plaques, the policies surrounding it, and where we can kind of make some corrections. So my previous delegations, just quickly, were things with provincial plaques. We went through with wooden plaques, town owns, and then the sesquicentennial plaques, which all have their own associated issues. But when I started digging into the interpretive plaques, I looked through best practices and I pulled together populations, relative municipalities to Aurora, things like Bruce County, Owen Sound, Loyalist Township, and pulled together their policy documents, which are definitely worth looking through. And I also looked at how they presented things. So from a mapping standpoint, every level of our government has mapping of Aurora heritage properties. The federal government does it through Parks Canada, through their heritage site. Provincial Heritage Trust does, and York Region actually does. Not York Region, even though Aurora does, has listed the Canada 150 properties within inside of their mapping. But that gives you some idea of what the expectations are and what can be done and should be done, which led me down, okay, so town should probably have a written policy with respect to interpretive plaques, probably that's reviewed regularly, that when properties are demolished, that effectively the plaques that are supposed to be erected get erected, and that there's actually documentation about that process. The plaques are placed in an accessible manner that you can actually go through the process of finding them and seeing them. The town goes through the process of documenting them and sharing them outwards with the community through communication. So those are the set expectations, but what I was finding through this process is I couldn't get anywhere close to this. So using the town's website, I had an example where I tried to find Isaac Petch Farmhouse. It just doesn't populate with any results. So I go to planning, send them an email, I'm like, I'm looking for details on these properties, and I'm basically getting things back where it's for further requests. We just can't provide you information, which is completely different from, again, what other communities are doing. But I asked clarification, and I was like, where's the current policy on this? So the current policy, which is basically a guideline and protocol, is a 2011 document. It's 3 pages. That's 15 years old. This is effectively what is actually best practice and done in Bruce County. It's 69 pages and was done last year. When I tried to find these plaques, I was able through records, a site that people usually don't go through to the town, I was able to find 17 plaques. And I came through these, and if there's further discussion, I'm going to go through them now, but I'm going to outline that 4 of them that I found actually have plaques. 3 of them have street names in lieu of plaques. 2 properties are the plaques are placed in over actually 7 properties have no plaques. And 1 has the back end process guys at the last meeting. So I will just basically get all the way through this and get to the other side of it going, okay, if we look at this and going, we don't know why we don't have plaques up for certain things, but we do know kind of where we are for other things. Can we not do what happened with the heritage site? So we talked last a meeting, very close to the end of the meeting, about the fact that Parks Canada's website was getting pulled down. And somebody said that's not going to happen. They stepped in and they coded within a weekend an entire lift of that data set and brought it back out and pushed it. And it's now live and working where the Parks Canada site is not. heritageguide.ca is that. So I looked at that and I went, why can't we do that? So I don't. So we have Heritage Guide Aurora, which can go up onto the app site right now. It's just living in a web form. It has a whole mapping system where all the classifications, whether it's a wooden plaque, a Ontario Heritage Trust plaque, and a 150 plaque, can all be navigated through the profiles and stuff of these properties associated and can be pulled. And I pulled the property evaluation sheets. There's about 250 of them through that. And I parsed that data into here. So you're getting effectively was on that data set through your portal. And you want to do it on your phone, on the desktop. So if that can be done, and I just let you know I did that in a weekend, if that could be done, how come it's not being done? It's not a method of, well, we don't have the funds, because the Heritage Fund right now, when I looked at it, has $350,000. It's not a matter of manpower, because collaboration can definitely happen in-house. You have an entire GIS division that could do a mapping. You have a museum and archives staff. You have planning staff. And then there's the idea of volunteers and summer students, which is what Bruce County does with pulling their details. So I guess my ask is, you guys, as a committee, need to determine what it is that you want to see, whether you're happy with the status quo of not knowing or not having plaques show up and not even knowing that you don't have plaques show up, or do you want council to direct staff to pull together a bigger effort on this, work with community partners that can actually assemble functional data sets and get this back out of the committee, and what you want to see going forward, because it's doable and it's just not getting done. So I'll leave that with you. And I've got lots of data in case anybody has questions.
Thank you, Christopher. It must have been a very frustrating exercise.
You can.
Thank you for doing the work.
You're welcome.
I'm sure you did it. Did you sleep on that weekend when you did? But I mean,
you do
it's
it
doable.
in chunks, so it's not like you just go aggressively at it.
May I have a mover and a seconder to receive Chris's delegation before we ask any questions? Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, motions? Directions to staff. Can't do that either in discussion. Questions or comments of the delegates?
Well, perhaps I'm wrong, but about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we were sitting around this table and we had other meetings where a lot of heritage properties were reviewed, some removed from the list, others were added, and so on. So although I don't think we were discussing plaques in particular, but there was an up-to-date list at that time of heritage properties. So did you include that in there?
Correct.
Okay, so that was only about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. that date has been pushed in 250.
Sorry. Like to respond to that? Chris?
I wasn't sure if John was.
No, that's an observation.
Thank you.
Chris, this website, do you mind if I take a look?
This one screen grabs it.
Yeah, so this website, this is up and running right now, or is it?
So I don't have it connected to a domain. I got it on a URL. So I think that if you wanted to leverage this, what should happen is there should be a review process. It should be, it should effectively be community-driven data with probably some oversight. So there's a mid-panel that I work through to do stuff, but it could definitely use some help. So right now I didn't want to launch it, but the concept is we've got between now and next committee meeting, some effort could be made. We can push through and this could go into and launch.
So my question is, where do we go from here, like, with this ask, or is it just?
Thank you. Well, we can't make motions. Staff has heard what you've said. I think I'll try and speak for everybody. I think it's very important. So what would you suggest?
I see you're strategy versus assessment business, but the same direction.
Yes, past. Okay, so thank you. So then, thank you. And but I'm sure you're going to stay for the new business. Already received them. So we need to vote, is that correct? All those in favor of receiving Mr. Watt's notification? Carries, thank you. Next we have David Bird. Everybody probably knows who David is. We heritage events report. Heritage Week, if you'd like to come to the table,
Thank you.
and you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Doesn't mind if I stand.
So first I wanted to say thank you to the committee that was involved in the Heritage Week. From what I know, from what I experienced from being involved as a person with a display and assistance from the Aurora Museum, the event, I believe, was an exceptional success. Myself qualified a lot of people that were coming into Town Square, many who were visiting Town Square for the first time. Some of them came because of Heritage Week. What I was very proud to see, being an Aurora person, reached Aurora at 1802, I've been here all my life, 64 years, is seeing how a historical event like that changed, meaning it was very diverse, very culturally diverse, ethnically diverse, and a lot of youth, which I think was a big change. Why I'm here today is hopefully to build on that momentum. Many of you know I've been involved in helping enhance events, the Aurora Farmers Market, the Aurora Community Garage Sale advocate, the Aurora Pet Cemetery for over a decade. I'm on a new vibe now, and that vibe is something called RAIL. In 2 years, it will be our 175th anniversary of the Toronto arriving from Toronto to Aurora. In just a couple of days, it will be 173 years. April 16th, the Toronto was built. 1 month later, it arrived in Aurora. It's a big deal. 175th anniversaries are huge. And I can see through collaboration. I think one of the things we learned from the Heritage Week was there was a lot of collaboration. The Aurora Historical Society, the museum, myself, there was many involved. And that's what made it a success. If we can go to the next one, Linda. So how do I see RAIL? If RAIL was put together, as I said, by a team, a collaborative team This is something that I've been working on, not overnight. This has been going on for several years. And I see the rail as being from mid-May to May 16th to June, including a rail-themed music festival. Music has been a big part of being influenced by rail in a massive way. A costume festival, which I've already reached out to a possible partner group. Rail exhibits and merchandise. Branding this is huge, could bring revenue into the coffers of Aurora. An art contest, rail themed, which the budget on that is pretty much close to zero. We're working on a recycle themed project that I've had some people helping me on. The next one is 100, 175 and 300 square foot rail themed murals. Through my collection, that's the part I want to bring, is I have literally been accessing in my collection and have over 350 historic recordings with train images and train recordings, probably one of the largest rail collections in the world. The 300-piece mural would be something I would be working with the Aurora Museum and Archives. They're excited to do. We think rail would be the right time. Would be doing a little spin on it and honoring John Candy. He did his first directorial movie here in Aurora, lived in Aurora on 2 occasions, and we're all familiar with planes, trains, and automobiles. So it would be a 300-piece train, planes, and automobiles mural. Rail excursions is something I'm working on. We're not going to get a steam train here, but we can certainly try. And an exposition, in other words, an event just like a memorabilia show, but all Expo rail theme. This is all doable. And can we go to the next slide? Some of the people I've talked to when you delegate, they always ask, have you talked to town staff? Many discuss this with many different departments. The potential, having worked with the facilities and the town square and the Aurora Community Garage Sale, I have a great network already with the town, but the Aurora Farmers Market, they want in bad. Town square with the museum, obviously, they would be excited for this. I've had a preemptive a while ago with Metrolinx. There is funding there. We work hard together and multiple regional organizations. The one that's not up there is the City of Toronto. I have a meeting, not for a few weeks, but a ward councillor to talk about possibly a partnership with Toronto. Next slide, please. There we go. So this is one of the things why I said the strategic plan. I was here the last meeting in regards to what is it that I'm doing, especially with the Dave's Garden Party and other things. How does it fit into the strategic plan? And if you read the strategic plan, I hit on just about every touch points with this and the other projects I've been working on. How I see this playing out is after our debriefing with the Heritage Week, is beginning with a 7-member advisory board and planning committee starting now. This is a 2-year process, I believe. Rail is not something that can wait. I was very frustrated. Aurora's 150 waited quite a long time to get launched. And there was a lot of scrambling at the end. This is bigger than I think Aurora's 150. Aurora is a great place, it's great to have a 150, but being the first destination north of Toronto, on the first locomotive built in Canada. That's pretty powerful. I would like to see we have a representative here. The last point and the point before that is where this could become very imperative. It can be challenging with, of course, we just had the Heritage Advisory Group was, I think, a 3-person committee set by the province. Really challenging to do a great job, not knocking them with 3 people. Our hands are being tied at many different government levels with Heritage. There's no doubt about it. I've sat in this committee on 2 terms, and it's gotten more challenging and more challenging. With an entrepreneurship, with a great team put together, like I said, maybe working alongside the Aurora Historical Society, I can assure you through hard work and teamwork, getting a grant like the last one of $250,000, there is one that I've been going through extensively for months and months now. I believe we can achieve that by working with the town, the Historical Society, working as a team, and going after this funding. It's not going to be on the taxpayers' dime. But this is how I say this playing out. I think we have to make it public. Like, in other words, it is the citizens that throw this all together and work together as a team. Teamwork is what's going to make this. Lastly, I'm going to say, when I was a little boy, I grew up along Ross Street. It's no longer there, Industrial Parkway, directly almost across from the train station. And there wasn't a lot to do in Aurora. You know, there was parks, and you hung out. You went home when the streetlights came on. That was pretty much it. Or you went like me. You took a penny, you put it on the rail line, and waited for the train to come across, and got yourself a big piece of copper.
David, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
Yeah. But lastly, I'll say is one of the things I noticed about, again, the Heritage Week was the inclusivity. My fascination with trains started because I was a little disabled kid, couldn't get out a lot. I believe this type of event will get a lot of people to come out of all shapes, sizes, cultures, creeds, everything. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So what I'm doing is asking for assistance on launching this vision and dream, because it's the real deal.
Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegations? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for the delegate?
Sorry, David, just to clarify, so the working group or the advisory, your advisory board and planning committee, that you want that to be citizens from Aurora, like not specifically from any one sector.
No.
So open it up to the community and see who comes forward.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, of course, when I say 7-member committee, that's a steering committee. This is going to take a lot of people, a lot of hands on deck, especially youth.
So the executive would be 7.
Correct.
I have one question, I guess, for you. A 7, a committee like this is beyond.
Through the chair.
Sorry, through the chair. New business. Yeah, okay, I think forming a committee though, yeah, I guess it would be under new business. It wouldn't be under the direction of this committee.
Actually, we can talk about some of the particulars under new business for the time.
David, stay. Thank you. John?
David, do you have any idea of time frame that you'd like to see this materialize and come to fruition?
Immediately, like literally a 2-year plan starting in May.
Yeah.
I'm not saying having a committee ready, but beginning to get it out there through the media that we are looking to build on this and get it started. And the grant money, by the way, for example, that $250,000 wouldn't be received until, I believe it's May the year before. You're only going to have the funding for a year. So it's going to be bootstrap hard work for the first year and then pray to get that money, and away we go. So
Thank you.
The chair, who's providing that grant for $250,000?
it's a federal grant.
A federal
Yeah,
grant.
it's a federal grant. It's about the only level there's money right now for heritage and arts and stuff like that right now. It's a challenge.
And the $50,000, as through the chair, the $50,000 was as well.
The $50,000 one is 2 sources. One is a provincial source. The second one I'm going to be suggesting is, if we had help from this historical society, is seeking seed money from the Heritage Fund.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll hang out.
All those in favor of receiving the delegation? Our next topic is the matter for consideration. It is you, Adam, policy planning heritage heritage permit application for the hall. But before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge that Ron Weiss is here, Councilor Weiss. And the mayor's picture is here, so I'm assuming he's listening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Madam Chair. As mentioned, this is the Heritage Permit application HPA 2026-02 for alterations and refurbishments to Victoria Hall at 27 Mosley Street. Our design team, the design and heritage consultants in particular, including the author of the attachment number 3 heritage impact assessment, are also here tonight and they're available to certainly answer any questions. But To really kick this off, the consulting team has a presentation that they'll be delivering and introducing themselves to our heritage budget.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll introduce we're the heritage consultants, Jaimo and Associates, and I'm the principal, Julie Jaimo. And Sarah Shimarani is here, and she is managing this project and an associate in our office as well.
And my name is Ryan Jurchich. I'm project principal from CSP Architects, who's the lead architect on the project.
Yeah, get started. So we're talking about Victoria Hall. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Before you do anything, I did not acknowledge that we have Councillor John Gallo present here, who's very interested about this. Thank you.
Yes, and through you, Madam Chair, I'll introduce the facilities team as well, handing it over to Andrew.
Please.
So my name is Annie Event. I'm the program manager of the facility capital projects for the town of Aurora, and I'm the project lead working with our project team representing the town.
Thank you. And of course, we have Mr. Kyle here.
There we go. Manager of facilities for the top.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll start. Okay, thank you. I'll get us started. So you all know where Victoria Hall is at the corner of Mosley and Victoria Street. And here's the aerial to give you some context. It's just north of the town square. Some building elevations, if you haven't seen it recently, just to refresh your memory. And I'll look back. So the proposed design that we'll be discussing tonight will be happening at the south elevation. Here's some historical photos of the building. So as you can see, it still looks pretty much the same as it did. This building is designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. So it has a designation bylaw, and these heritage attributes are coded from the designation bylaw. As you can see, they're mostly focused on the exterior, with the exception of one side trims and wainscoting that are in the interior. And once we start talking about the potential impacts of the proposed design of the heritage attributes, we'll get into each item. Here's some exterior photos to show you the general conditions of the building. So it's certainly in good condition, the masonry, good to fair. There's some areas of deterioration, and this proposal is a great opportunity to do some restoration conservation work. Here's some more shots. You can see parging on the buttresses, a little bit of spalling in the second photo. Again, overall in good to fair condition.
Sorry, could you just speak a little louder? Or
Yes.
you're projecting that way and we're back here.
Okay, I'll try to speak this way. Thank you. All right.
I just want to make what you just said. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so interior pictures. The first one shows you the general area of the main hall, and the middle two are of the rear elevation in question tonight, which we'll be discussing. And just a close-up of the pattern on the pointed arch windows, beautiful pattern. All right, so this is the proposed ground floor.
Sure, yeah. So I'll just stand up so I can point. But so basically, from a planning perspective, what we're looking at doing here is upgrading the building and its accessibility. And so you can see at the south side here, we're introducing a new accessible ramp to a new entry point. And really what we're trying to do is consolidate the entry points for equal access. The ramp couldn't be introduced at the north side for a number of reasons. One, that's the most primary heritage facade, which we were looking to maintain. There's also a number of mature trees there, which obviously we would like to keep, and in keeping them interferes the ability to add a ramp there. So really the ramp at the south side of the building made the most sense. And if we go to the next presented an opportunity to add a new addition at the south here. There is currently an addition that was not constructed at the time of the original structure that would be removed in order to add this new addition that's a similar footprint. The new architectural language is modern and minimal and distinguishable from the heritage building.
Thank you, Ryan. So as you can see, the proposal mainly impacts the south portion of the building. And Brian mentioned the south elevation at the moment is a later alteration addition. It is not a listed heritage attributes. And in our heritage impact assessment, we also didn't find it to be contributing to the heritage value of the property. And the only alterations the addition makes to the actual building is the, kind of hard to see here, but maybe in your agenda items close up, the pink dashed lines over there, which we can see in the renderings as well. So the middle one is an opening, there's a door there currently, and that door will be widened. And then to the right, it is another opening that is currently infilled, and they will remove the infill and reinstate this opening. So these are the alterations to the building. And again, this is an opportunity to also provide some restoration for the building. So this table over 2 pages goes over the heritage attributes of the building, one by one, and describes the potential impacts to the building if they are adverse or positive. And we found that there are overall minor impacts to the building, and the positive impact being the opportunity to do some restoration. And the minor impact, one of them is at the front entrance, so the last item on this table. As Ryan mentioned, the main entry point moving forward will be from the south elevation, and the current main entrance would be used as an exit. So this has a minor impact on the historic circulation of the building. But as Ryan also mentioned, this provides an opportunity for equal access, and we see this ultimately as a minor change. And then again, no impacts on anything else other than the interior side trim and base cladding. So at the moment, perhaps go back a little bit. As you can see in the north part of the building, there is a couple of washrooms and a room proposed. The current layout of a building is just an open hall. So these 3 rooms hide some of the wainscoting. But at the moment, this design shows that a good portion of it is remaining in situ, and it is in a fair condition. So again, this would be a minor impact. So we concluded that this proposal is in line with heritage best practices based on the standards and guidelines. Since we consider this project rehabilitation, it allows for the continued contemporary use of the building. Yeah, and the impacts would be minor. Yeah.
Need a mover and a seconder to put this item on the table, thank you. Would like to speak. Are there any questions or comments?
Through you, Madam Chair. So, I'll preface by saying I'm not an architect or heritage. So I'm coming at this from, my experience as a citizen here and as a historian. I think someone who has seen a lot of proposed changes to heritage buildings over the past couple of terms. The back of the building obviously is where the bulk of the changes will take place that will be visible outwardly. The proposal is to just remove that addition and add something that is obviously a lot more updated. But it's really adding something that 50 years from now is going to look as out of place there as what's there now looks out of place now. And so I just don't know that it's in keeping with the aesthetic of what a heritage building should look like. It reminds me of the crystal, the Michelation crystal at the Rom, which is, architecturally a remarkable design, but it's not in keeping with the heritage aesthetic of that building.
Yeah.
So obviously on a much smaller scale, but if the goal here is to, as is stated in one of the various documents, to make it non-distinguishable from the original structure, this doesn't do that. This is quite different from the original structure. So that's a concern that I have. I think it's great that we're removing the drop ceiling and show off the beautiful ceiling that's there. But it's not sympathetic to the original design of Victoria Hall as a piece of Gothic architecture. And so it kind of, in my non-design opinion, it doesn't fit. That's my initial response. Now, if the goal is to build something that's award-winning, that's a different goal. But if the goal is to build something that is in keeping with the design of this really important heritage building, I don't know that this does that. Those are my comments. Through you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, question. The front room that we're removing the wainscoting, there seems to be the bathrooms, which I can understand, but there's another front room there that I'm assuming the wainscoting would be removed. What would be the reason for that front room?
Sorry, are you
Across from the washrooms.
Across from the washrooms.
Yeah, right now there's the addition, which is would remove, which doesn't have any wainscoting. Then there's the washrooms block. Are you referring to the existing washroom?
I'm referring to the existing front
At
of
the
the,
north portion of the building.
yeah, the north portion of the building.
Oh, just why is the wainscoting being removed in that area?
Yeah, there's a room there. I don't understand what the purpose of that room in the front is. It looks like there's like tables or.
I think in that area, we would look to maintain the wainscoting as much as possible.
Okay, but what's the purpose of that room there?
It's just a service room, like a back house.
A back of house. I'm gonna echo what Cynthia has said, and we've got numerous applications coming through here all the time. I did an application 3-4 years ago for my own house, and if I would have brought something that had, glass walls and metal cladding, it's pretty clear that in our district plan, that's not an acceptable cladding, and I would have, been told you gotta change it with, board and batten, wood siding, a stone with complemented to Cynthia's point that, that might be outdated sooner rather than later, and it doesn't keep into the heritage aspect of the building. I guess that would be my two only comments. My other comment was, I would prefer to keep the front entrance, but I understand the point, what you were making about keeping accessibility ramp and the steps in the same area, which I can appreciate. That's fine.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Same question, same, as Cynthia's mentioned, so I won't repeat, but I favor exactly. The glass, I feel is not conducive to the building. And she said it perfectly well, and so does Brian, so I'm fine with that. The percentage of the wainscoting being removed from that building, do you know that number?
If I may add, I think at this point, it could be just like hidden rather than removed, like are we?
Yeah, I mean, the areas we showed that's not being covered up by a wall interacting with the wainscoting, it would be either kept and replaced or stored and reinstalled. So we'd be looking to keep it as much as possible based on the plan that we shared. I don't have a percentage, but it'd be the majority of the wainscoting.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I see through one diagram, with a big white and the big ceiling and everything else, it does stop and then it's gone. So I don't, you know, how deep that goes, how many feet it must be being removed from there.
Yeah, but
You know,
but
it's
so that area that you're looking at
Yep.
there, like, even inside Washington, we'd be looking at maintaining it as much as possible.
or repurposing it.
Yeah, or repurpose.
Okay, that answers that question. I think I'm okay right now. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
You, Madam Chair. A couple of questions, and the focus on this when it first came out was the cost. Okay, $2.18 million to do the whole project. Part of that, of course, was to investigate what needed to be replaced and renewed because of dry rot and so on. That was looking at the Victoria Hall itself as it stands. Then there was the addition on the back. And the question, of course, and Rocco came up with this, as to why and how is it going to be used. And of course, accessibility is one of the things, whether it could be made accessible or more accessible without the addition on the back, I don't know. But if the addition on the back was not included in the final price of this thing, how much would it reduce that $2.18 million by? Because this was the big question in council chambers and so forth. It was wow. And so I'm just curious as to, if you didn't add this on the back, I realize this is an opportunity, but if you didn't add it on the back, how much would it have cost at the time?
Through Madam Chair, I can answer that to a degree, right? I mean, just recognizing where we are at in this process, council has approved that capital budget. And for our purposes as a committee today, it is mostly a design exercise on the permit. So costing is something that's already been approved by council, and that's just been the order of events here, and where our scope of review lies is more so on the design aspects and whether the additions and alterations, I should say, are compatible.
Madam Chair. I don't have a diagram number. It's one of the ones in your presentation. The part that's labeled new addition, the north-south dimension, does that equal the current size of the addition that's there now? These all my questions are buried in the articles. I would echo Cynthia's comments about the addition. I don't think it matches I don't think it matches anything. And I think we're to be, the building is, in our report, it says the building is notable for its significant historical design and contextual value as a community asset. I think that changes the design totally, especially when they get the front door. The metal cladding, why shouldn't that be brick that matches the current brickwork? The gas meter, there's a diagram that I'm looking at here of the west elevation. And it says new gas meter connection. To me, the Mosley north face of the building is the front. In my experience, gas meters don't appear on the front face of the building. Most of the houses that I've seen that gas meters, they're on the side. I just wondered why you were planning to put it on the front. which you're now going to be, you're proposing to call the back.
Sure, so, yeah, if you look at the existing photos, that's where the gas line comes into the building currently, so to relocate it to the north side would be quite expensive. So we're keeping it in its existing location. I mean, that drawing is quite a bit older. We'd be looking at hiding the gas meter so that it's not quite as visible as suggested. If that's the drawing I remember.
Well, so much money possibly being saved with the changes that you're going to make based on our comments. Maybe a few extra feet to put it to the side of the building and not noticeable from the Mosley face. Just a thought. This isn't fresh in my mind, but and I can't even give a page number because our agenda changed at 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. I have a hard copy. I'm just looking at direct or indirect adverse impacts.
Page 50.
Page 54.
Which is our page 56 on our agenda.
Just the part that it says the new glazed entrance addition will alter the perspective of the elevation, perception of the elevation. However, because the addition is visually light and largely transparent, the historic form and profile of Victoria Hall are expected to remain legible. Not sure why you wouldn't say will remain legible as opposed to are expected to. My comment when I was reading it was that sounds a little iffy. And on the following page under heritage attributes, front projecting entranceway with Gothic point above the doorway, blah, blah, blah. Under impact, I was confused when I read it. Just the part in the proposed design, the historic primary entrance is utilized as exit positive. The main entrance will be restored through asphalt. It sounds like the exit is now it just seemed a little confusing. 60. Description of heritage attributes to be conserved, Victoria Hall, blah, blah, blah. Description of heritage attributes to be conserved is the main title, yellow brick exterior. I think that's a great plan. But I don't think the addition your plan is suggesting is using any yellow brick exterior. And I think it should. The yellow brick came from a brickyard just a few blocks away from this building. The other side of Yonge Street down the bottom of the hill. And I know that the concern is how to add wheelchair access. But it really rubs me the wrong way that the current front of the building would become an exit, a back door. And that the back of the building, which currently has no access, no deliberate access, would become the front door. I don't think what is planned matches the character of the building. I think it changes the whole thought of heritageness being kept. And I wonder if there could be a little bit more creativity of how to add the mobility access to the Mosley face, the north face of the building. Or perhaps the mobility access is from the back of the building and the front of the building remains the front of the building. Rather than a whole big design that doesn't fit, the yellow brick, for example, at the back.
Thank you, John.
Anyhow. Middle name, John.
Bob, let's call you John. I call welcome Gino.
I have a question for Adam, but I don't know if that fits.
You can, yeah, yes, go ahead.
Is what's been approved with respect to Victoria Hall by council simply, we're going to spend this much money? They haven't approved any of the planning details.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's generally correct, and that's why we're here now to get heritage permit review, authorization, and ultimately council approval prior to any construction. It's been a capital budget approved for that overall value, and now we're going through the detailed design work.
I'm just not sure if that's the usual order. So, and decides how much money we're going to spend on the project.
Yeah, through Madam Chair, it's my understanding, but maybe facilities based on some other projects, typically that is doing it.
Typically, projects are approved in budget time, and then if there's a variance in that, then we would have to go to council to get that variance approval. So in the process here.
I would think, I would just also mention the last line from Lisa Dayfoot on her submission to us as a committee. Just to point out that the area footprint of the proposed concrete entrance is greater than the footprint of the existing heritage building. That strikes me as kind of amazing. I think that would totally detract from the heritage aspect of the building. Okay. Put in the addition, not that it's planned to be totally enclosed with the old brick, but to have a greater footprint than the building itself just strikes me as unusual for the sake of mobility access.
Sorry, to you, Madam Chair, just two things. First is a question for you, and I'm just trying to find the page. So there's an image where you're looking at the back, what we think of as the back, which I guess would be the front. And the glass is the entire wall, but there's a portion that's opaque. Is that where the restrooms would be? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is the historical columns that are being maintained, and then there's openings on either side. Is that what you're referring to?
Looking at the mechanical.
Oh, perhaps. It's just with the addition with all the glass, where the glass addition is.
Yeah.
There's a portion of it, about a third of that wall, that is not glass.
Yeah, so there's no rooms on that side. So if it's what I think you're referring to, it's either mechanical.
That's what I'm here, right?
Oh, over on that side.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the service room. Yeah.
Service room.
I
So
thought you were referring to.
No. Okay. And the rest of this is all open.
That's right. Yeah.
So that would be where the furnace and the water.
That's the incoming water.
Okay. The other comment that I wanted to make, and I think this is just to sort of maybe wrap up, maybe not, but our role on this hack is to make sure that heritage buildings maintain their heritage. And I think it's a difficult task because we all are living in the 21st century. We want things to be modern. We want things to look new and brand new and shiny and exciting. But we have to temper that with our mandate, which is to maintain the heritage integrity of the community that we live in. And that tension is real. It's a problem. It's difficult. So, you know, if we were looking at a design like this and determining its beauty, it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous design. But if we're looking at it through our lens, which is our mandate, from a heritage perspective, I think that's where our concerns come in. I think I'm speaking on behalf of everybody. And so it's not so much that it's not a lovely design, that's symbolic of immense creativity. It's that it doesn't accurately maintain the heritage aspect, which is what our focus is. And so we've had lots of buildings that we've looked at, and sometimes it's just a matter of changing the paint color. And sometimes it's a matter of changing the material. And that brick piece, I think, is important because I'm certain when they put that addition on in the 70s, they thought, this is amazing, it looks so great. And now we are in 2026 and we don't feel the same way. Aesthetics change, tastes change. But if our goal is to maintain the heritage integrity of Victoria Hall, then I think we have to consider that and not just look at it from a contemporary lens, but also through the historical lens. And I think that's where we're a little bit concerned, or at least I'm a little bit concerned.
Chair.
Thank you.
Just a question that I forgot to ask earlier. The removal of the proposed removal of the non-heritage drop ceiling. I used to be in the building when it was a library, just a couple of years ago. Any idea what the ceiling was before?
There's a picture.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a picture. One of the pictures. I'll find it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's buttresses, right? It's like big beams.
That would be nice to
It's
have.
very pretty.
Through you, Madam Chair, are they viable? Are those beams viable that are in the ceiling now? That are up there, that are being hidden that we can't see because of the sub-ceiling underneath? Have you gone in there and looked to the top?
Yeah, we have investigated. We're doing with a structural engineer right now, basically what happens when we remove that current ceiling, what's exposed, if it needs to be reinforced.
So you don't even, through you, Madam Chair, you don't even know that yet? Like if it has to be reinforced or anything?
That's, yeah, it most likely needs to be reinforced to expose it.
Reinforced but not removed, correct?
Not removed.
So every beam that's up there that's existing now, even though we can't see it and it's got a sub-ceiling on, that'll be maintained for sure.
Correct, yeah.
What if they're rotten?
Well, if they're rotting, they have to be removed.
Will they be replaced then with something like?
Yeah.
Got it. Get it right.
So the committee's work, as was said by Cynthia. Yolanda.
Madam Chair. The new addition, in addition to the large area to the south, how far south does that go? And how many, if any, parking spots are being lost to the brand new town square?
It's 2 parking spaces.
So we're losing 2 parking spaces to construct that podium, let's call it. And does it require that size in order to try to accomplish?
Based on our review, yeah.
That's a concern for me.
I have there's on Zoom.
Oh, first on Zoom. Hi.
Hey there. Hi, everyone. So I think there's been a lot of thoughtful comments made, and I really don't disagree with them. I just wanted to add a few more perspectives. So I'm looking at other buildings in the area that are also heritage, that have undergone similar kind of restoration and rebuilding efforts, right? So if we think about the armory down the street on Mosley, which is also kind of a direct comparator to what is going on here, that entrance, or what was the historic entrance, is now an exit. So that's being used in practice today. So we can kind of see that in the same neighborhood. And also, if you look at the wall, which I think would be on the west side, that's an all glass wall that's facing the park. So I personally don't have issues with either the entrance being used as an exit or the concept of some sort of glass element. But I too question why the steps and the new entrance and this glass wall have to be so large. Like when you think about the size and scale, it almost matches the scale of the where the library meets the new entrance to the town square, which would be the, I guess, east wall of it. It's like a large glass wall that faces the old schoolhouse. Sorry, not the library, right in front of the Museum and Cultural Center. So that's almost exactly like this, what we're talking about, right? And that's right beside it. So I think there is precedent in the neighborhood. That's not in question. What's in question is, like, do we actually like this design element? And in this case, is it needed? Do you have to have such a large back wall for an entrance? Can we not use the front entrance and achieve the same space? So perhaps the addition still happens to have the space be viable, but the window in the back is scaled down a little bit. It still has glass, but it could be different. Like, just posing those as some questions to consider. I'm not opposed to the design. I'm also not entirely for it, but I'm curious on how that design was arrived at and just knowing a bit more.
Thank you, Chris.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think I'd just like to speak a little bit about the design and then can speak about heritage. I think there's been a lot of very good comments made here, and it's always difficult to try to negotiate heritage, maintaining heritage, and also intervening on that heritage. When we started discussing the project earlier on with Ryan, there was always an understanding that this rehabilitated building would form part of the larger cultural context. So when he came to us and he said, we're thinking about replacing the later edition, which is very solid, which is was very much about practicality, about housing mechanics, but replacing that with something that was light and airy, and that where you could actually make out the entire form of the building, that made sense to us. The way that, and to, Chris's point about other precedents in the area, directly across the street, you have the cultural center, which has the heritage building that is connected and mediating with the new piece through the glass atrium, which when Sarah and I were here a few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to experience it, and we think it works very successfully. In a more subtle, modest way, we feel that Ryan's design is trying to do that. That the glass piece, the relationship with the glass piece and the heritage piece are very distinct from each other. So in heritage principles, it's important that we distinguish the new from the old. And contemporary architects will try to, in a very kind of contemporary modern way, distinguish as much as possible in order to kind of ensure that the heritage building is clear and there isn't any confusion with that. The current edition, I feel there is some confusion with that because it is trying to kind of match the brick. Sort of does it, it doesn't. The massing is sort of, it's not quite there. So in some ways you want to be quite distinct when doing that. What's nice about the contemporary light airy piece is that, and another principle in heritage is reversibility. That in 50 years, sorry, Ryan, people may not care for Ryan's design and something else may come in its place, or it may be removed altogether and left as is and just restored fully. But for us, and we do understand that in footprint, it is very large, but that footprint is not mass. That footprint is landscape. That footprint is public realm, public space. And that footprint is also the mediator between the heritage piece and also the cultural center. So for us, I understand we're losing a couple of spaces, but for us, it's about pedestrians. And it's about how do you connect the public realm, how do you connect pedestrians from the very large cultural center through a parking lot to this piece here? And at the same time, how do you connect the larger neighborhood, which has residential, which has other churches, which has retail, which is very, very difficult to do. And you do that by maintaining the original entry as is. Now, I agree. I for myself, and I know this has become practice, I don't like to see a main entry turn into a back entry or turn into a secondary exit. And I think that through further investigation, maybe Ryan can find a way to ensure that that front entry kind of maintains its prominence in some way. It is absolutely impossible to put a ramp out front there because by code, that ramp is quite long and it would impact the trees. I believe it would impact the integrity of the front facade, which is the principal facade. And putting that stuff in the back, it works best. So I know there's again, it's always very, very difficult. Also, I think we have to keep in mind, I know we're getting into detail about wainscoting and condition of the structural stabilization and what is the condition of the rafters. It's still very early in the scheme. There's still quite a bit of work to do. There's still quite a bit of investigation to undertake. Some of the buttresses have been parged over for many, many years. We don't know what we're going to find when that parging comes off, but we expect that there'll be significant brickwork to restore that. I'm just trying to see if there's, there are some mistakes in the report. I think the asphalt sort of alludes to asphalt surface. It's asphalt shingles. The asphalt shingles on the gable of the entry are in very poor shape. So we'll be, and also much earlier than the asphalt shingles on the main roof. So those will be completely replaced. So we'll fix those typos and make things more clear.
I just have a question for you. So it says, are you all from an architectural firm?
So, yes, so two separate firms.
Two separate.
So we're architects who specialize in heritage conservation, and Ryan is an architect who specializes in design.
Thank you. Before you speak, I'm just going to say, from our report, and what you said, the heritage impact assessment ultimately concludes that proposals conserve the cultural heritage value of the site and represents a minimal and acceptable impact. And I think you're hearing tonight that we do not agree with that. And the proposed development represents minimal to minor and acceptable impact on the designated heritage resource. So one was said by Mr. Rob, one was said by the consultants. And as a committee, as a heritage committee, we are obligated under, as a town, under the Ontario Heritage Act, our job is to conserve, protect heritage, preservation, protection. We're talking about something completely different here with this design. And as you probably know, at the council meeting, there was some disagreement. Do we want to protect this as a beautiful heritage property? It's an example. I was at Great Well. It's a rare example in the town of this kind of architecture. And as a standalone, is a beautiful piece of heritage. It's interesting what you say about the ramp because several years ago we got a report before you got a report to council about putting a ramp there. And I said, I don't think that we approved it. I mean, there's no point putting an accessible ramp there if you don't have an accessible washroom. But that was my feeling. But planning staff, we could said we could do it. So maybe the books change. If we have some more comments, and I will allow it because this is very important to us, but try and keep them brief, please.
Two very quick comments. Just to echo Councillor Calvin's concern. So this can't be shrunk? Like this? I don't know what is this, like a patio? Like.
Yeah, the idea was to expand the public realm, at the back there, give them more space, with the new addition.
So what's the intention of this space? Is it gonna be like a
flexible outdoor space, if there's not really, furniture.
My second quick comment, and I actually really like your idea. Can we get rid of the addition and just put the building back the way it was 150 years ago and not put an addition back up? And just put the ramp in the patio and not have the addition and restore all the brick and, then we're not talking about anything and we're saving a ton of money.
Reading my sheet.
Is that what you're gonna say? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just as comments have been scribbling as people have been speaking. I don't think that the entrance of the armory is a very good precedent to be speaking of. The armory was used by York Rangers, and every time I would go past it, which is many, it's the east and the west side that were the entrances. One onto Alarmont, one onto Town Park. There's more for vehicles, and the public didn't win, but people won mostly through Alarmont. What's to compare changes to Victoria Hall to changes to Church Street School, I don't think fits exactly. The current town square, I see what is there now as a new building that's been added to the Church Street School. But the proposal before us is not a new building being added to Victoria Hall. It's an old building that you're planning to change as opposed to a new building that you're adding to it. I can't see that you can compare those. I don't think the area can afford to lose 2 parking spaces. Check any traffic study. I still say get the gas meter out of the front on Mosley Street, and the ramp doesn't fit. Although I think creative thinking might be able to make it fit. People seem to be able to have a ramp in front of their houses for wheelchair access.
Anything new?
Just to be clear for the gas meter's at the south side.
No, it's on the north face according to your diagram.
I'm not sure.
Existing, it's on the east side right now.
Yeah, on the southeast.
Just to the parking lot, close to the parking lot, yeah.
We will be keeping it where it is currently, it's the southeast corner.
Because one of your drawings shows it on the north,
Yeah.
elevation shows an arrow.
It's on the addition, I think of the drawing that shows it on. Yeah, that's the addition to the south.
The southern.
Yeah. So this is the east side, that's the north, so that's sort of never was right there.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, that's just a label error. There's no gas meter there. It's on the south side.
So that,
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's maintaining where it is currently. That's what I was saying. We wouldn't move it to the north, because that'd be
Right.
Then you guys don't want Yeah, and it's
Thank
keep it
you.
on.
And that's good.
Is that your question?
No.
No, okay.
No.
My last comment would be that I think it's tricky to talk about expanding the public realm without knowing the purpose of the building. And to increase more than 100% the size of the footprint for the sake of wheelchair access just doesn't make sense to me if one's trying to maintain the heritage character. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a very good point about the comparison to what we've done in the past, where it is adding. We haven't changed the church sheets.
Last one, 3 minutes, Chair. Yeah, I think it makes a difference if you know what the end result is, and that's what I was coming to too. Because that ramp is, that whole new addition is the same size as the existing building or close to it. So obviously, if it's gonna turn into a restaurant, that'll be a patio there. If it's gonna stay as a cultural spot, then it's not necessary. It's a big patio and losing the 2 spots. Yeah, it honestly, in a way, it depends what the final act is gonna be. What is this thing gonna be? What's it turning into? That's right.
I
it's a
can add to
secret.
that in a moment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was gonna make the point, and I know when you're in design, you know this language. Who's the end user?
Yeah.
Because the end user dictates the design. You know, if it's gonna be used for a certain purpose, then you're gonna keep that in mind. And I think part of the sticking points that you're hearing have to do with the fact that we really don't know who the end user is. Who are you building it for? We know it's for the community to use, but for what purpose? Because, I haven't been in Aurora as long as some of the third members, but I remember my kids going to camp in Victoria. So if it's going to be used as a place for kids who go to summer camp, that's a very different end user than a restaurant with a patio, right? That really, who the end user is dictates the design. And so I think that's one of the areas that we're finding a bit nebulous, because we're like, well, if it's for purpose A, then this makes sense. But if it's for purpose B, then that doesn't really make sense. And I think that's a key piece of information. How can we determine the efficacy of a design if we don't know what it's being designed for or who it's being designed for? So I think that's a key piece of information that we don't have, which would really, for me at least, impact my analysis of the appropriateness of the design and whether what we're proposing fits with what we need to use it for.
One of the funding sources on our council agenda was growth and new. And that's to accommodate new residents, services for new residents. So I asked how it could be possible, and it was said that a change of use would allow the growth and new funds to be used. So that wouldn't be a funding source unless there wasn't going to be a change of use. What that
Right.
use is going to be, I don't know.
Right, which proves the point that I'm trying to make, which is if it's going to be a change of use, it's not going to be used for children's summer camps with the town of Aurora. What is it going to be used for? That's, I think, the big question.
We don't know.
That makes sense.
But it's going to be a change of use from what it's being used for now, which is nothing at the moment, but summer camps for kids. I think we're done. So I need a vote to approve the delegation. We have a mover and a seconder, I believe. There's the delegates on the floor. Yes, we did, no. I'm just presenting. So do we need this? So I'm doing a seconder for the presentation. Yes, okay, all those in favor of everything of the presentation. Okay. I guess friends of ours, and I I know you want to create something amazing for us. But that's right, what we have to do as a town, our occupation is under the Ontario Heritage Act, so. Yeah. That's, I think, what you've heard from this group is that we want to and have an obligation, frankly, to keep it as a heritage.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you, we also have an obligation through the Ontario Heritage Act to ensure conservation of our heritage buildings. And that streams through to the terms of reference that we follow through various municipalities.
Yeah.
The mandate for the Heritage Impact Assessment is to evaluate the impact of the, whether it's new program, in this case we don't have one, or the new design of the new intervention on the heritage building. What we are given are the heritage, through designation, we're given the heritage attributes. Unfortunately, heritage can be a black and white game. So what we have to do is ensure that the heritage attributes that are listed in bullet points in the heritage designation, that those are not impacted in a negative way. Through our evaluation of the design, we found that they're not impacted in a negative way. And this is the reason that we gave our recommendations and conclusions. If you do go point by point, you will find that the design does not do that. And again, like that, this is why we arrived at our conclusion. This is why we think the design is successful. The style is ultimately subjective. Some people like contemporary, other people don't like contemporary. I think that's fine. I mean, it's an architect's preference as well. But I think what we have to understand is, at least through our role as heritage consultants, is that we have to evaluate this somewhat subjectively and actually very specifically to where the value is. And the value is clearly listed in that designation description.
I think that we disagree though, that it's a minor and acceptable impact on the heritage structure. So I think that's the opinion of the committee. And well, one sentence.
I just wondered if through you, Adam could tell us what next steps are, because I'm just wondering
Thank you.
who's listening.
Yes.
Thank you, that's a good question.
So through you, Madam Chair, I will echo Joey's comments there too. The designation bylaw is also attached to this report, designation bylaw 5081-08.r. You'll see the section there just for further elaboration. Was said, listing the exterior and the interior elements for the property. You have things like your front gable roof line, your Gothic windows, your historic sills, the sign buttresses, the front projecting entranceway with Gothic point above the doorway. On the Mosley side, your yellow brick exterior, your great stone, remnants of the historic doorway, and then the side trim wainscot. So from a heritage bylaw perspective, those are the features.
Yes.
And then to get to the root of your question there, Bob. Next step is obviously compiling these comments that we've heard today, summarizing them in a report directly to council for council's ultimate approval of the heritage permit. Even further from that point, depending on council's decision, it would then be, should the permit be approved, enabling construction to commence until construction work to occur through our facilities.
Thank you. And we only have a Class D estimate, so it has to come back to us for what it might actually cost.
Last meeting, through you, last meeting.
Council. It's over, our clerk. I just would like to acknowledge that Neil Osborne is here. Neil was an integral part of at least one previous heritage committee. Thanks for joining. Okay, are we into new business?
Not quite.
Hey.
Chair, we done on the agenda, is everything that,
Are you finished here?
yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so you may go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so, thank you.
It's been a while since I had met on second speech.
Neil Neil?
Everything feels very democratic. So, thank you for your, for you.
Thank you very much. And I think we've done a good job.
I see this.
So I see what you do.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks.
I like his idea about moving the additional together.
I agree.
About what?
We move the additional together, then we're not.
Yeah, well, that's
And then.
the end user purpose, but we have to stop.
Yeah.
This time's just off the table. Oh,
Is it comes back in business?
No, we're done. So,
We're done.
if I may.
Yes, you
So,
may.
through you, Madam Chair, this next item on our agenda is a revised heritage permit for the proposed healthcare office at 15375 Yonge. Okay.
We move it as extra. Sean, thank you, thank you.
So you can come.
Bob.
You need a name.
Okay, so through you, Madam Chair, next on the docket is a revised heritage permit. We've seen this one before. It's the same heritage permit number 2026-01 for 15375 Yonge Street. This is coming back to the Heritage Committee just because the owner has done some revisions to his proposal for the new healthcare office at this location. The owner is now proposing specifically to demolish the rear non-heritage garage component on the east side of the property. And this is really what triggers a new review and ultimately council's approval. The owner has joined us here tonight, Patrick Gamble, and is available to answer any specific questions as we look for comments from the committee as this advances through not just ultimately council's approval, but also a site plan review and a potential minor variance review process as well. So there's a few applications concurrent, but we want to get as much to the Heritage Committee as early as possible.
So we're open to comments now. Anybody? Welcome.
I'm very happy to see the comments come back, and kind of address all our issues from the
Thank you.
last time, so thanks.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see all the trees were marked and we're only losing one tree. I'm really happy to see, even though parking isn't, part of this community's, but I'm really happy to see the parking increased. And I don't mind to lose the garage. I think that's a good idea. So the way it looks now, and actually I talked to a couple of people in the area too, and they seem to be okay with with this happening, even if the next door neighbor must.
Yeah, this is
I'm
what
happy
was
with all
moving.
this.
Cynthia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I remember when this came across our desk the first time, we talked paint color. Has that been adopted? Has it been adopted, that changes our recommendation?
So it's
I'm looking at the proposal. Caesar asked.
through you, Madam Chair, Patrick, the very next morning we spoke after the meeting, he's committed to doing a more softer, neutral, whitish tone. I think that's that one, but there will soon be a classical color permitted by our bylaw. You heard that comment.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Send your feet.
So.
Yeah, I know you guys have had a detailed thing, but for those of you that don't know me, a few words. So I live in Aurora and we've been in Aurora for nearly 20 years. My wife and I were surgeons of the hospital, and the purpose of the clinic is for skin cancer, minor surgical procedure stuff. So I appreciated all the feedback, and Adam communicated all that from you guys, and we're definitely we're invested to make sure that we keep the building in line with its purpose originally. The back end was an additional, and we're just kind of shrinking it down to accommodate some more parking stalls. the patient population is going to be people that are elderly with some disabilities. So the purpose of the office is to accommodate all the barrier-free stuff. So that's the plan. So I didn't know if you guys knew. I was here a couple of months ago, so I'm sorry I had to leave because I'm sure there's some questions then. But yeah, we're going to make sure the elements, exterior elements, are real wood. We're going to soften the white and basically and keep all the tree planting as best we can. There's one tree to the side. So
Thank you.
When is your target for completion?
I mean, hopefully in the fall. Like I feel the renovations are not massive. It's not a big space. So yeah, but hopefully the fall is the plan. So my wife, she's an ENT skin cancer doctor, so she's going to do some of her procedures there. So I mean, it's a big demand, skin cancer. There isn't any clinic like this in the area, so I think it's a real good positive thing for Aurora. And we did canvass the community, and the next door neighbor obviously was the big concern, and they're really supportive, and they're going to be looking to add a new fence there, which I know is another different permit. We'll go through that. And as Adam was saying, we did do a parking study. We thought it would be favorable to increase a couple of parking stalls, which is why we decided to redesign it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. It's a good news story for everybody. Welcome.
Yeah. The next project.
Yeah.
We're super excited. It's gonna look great. I mean, even inside, I know this is relative to you guys, but like we're keeping all the big casing and we're investing in all the original molding that the house was built in. So we're really excited about the inside. So and we're actually hoping to put a little plaque at some point inside the actual space commemorating the we can talk about that later. But like we're vested to make sure that this is a marquee heritage project and also provides a service to the community.
Thank you.
I think what we like is you are not a mythical individual. You are a real person. You're here.
I live here. Like we raise our kids here. I work here. Like we're committed to making Aurora better, and I think this is a fun project for us.
It's great. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, well, I learned a lot. So thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Hope to see you again.
Yeah, this is.
It's not
Okay. Oh, we had to.
Just a second.
I don't like it those.
Okay, those in favor of.
So say,
I'll send some.
Thank you.
we'll send somebody else to represent us.
Oh. Adam,
Next item.
you're on again, and you'll need a mover and a seconder for your, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, so this final memorandum of today's meeting is about a summary of the 2026 Heritage Week event. Thanks for David for some introductory remarks as well. My opinion as well as it was a success. This is backed by the fact that it was attended by approximately 300 visitors, and then we also had direct feedback from the event, which is largely positive. We support that with a survey with I think the final total was something like 94% of survey respondents said that was either excellent or very good. And overall, heard from people directly that complimenting the performers, the organizing committee, everyone, right? So I give a tremendous amount of thanks to all those that made it possible, all those that helped here at this table and at the community at large. But I do also have to highlight the fact that this memo does speak to, in its last paragraph, we've recognized and there's a need for more dedicated resources for such event management functions moving forward, on a scale as big as rail. Great idea by David. Similarly, if Heritage Week is going to continue to grow and continue to seek areas of expertise,
New funding, dedicated funding.
in vendor recruitment, marketing, the like, room book, etc. It is something that I'm cautiously aware of this committee's role too, and what we talked about, design review and the area check, we can certainly participate in events like this moving forward, but where there is going to be some potential, I'm thinking future, I want these events to be successful in the long term. We could run into challenges in terms of having a dedicated resource on more of that event management side of things.
So we have a lot of money in our reserve fund. What are we supposed to be using it?
In terms of the match of the Heritage Reserve Fund. So that is an option. I think that's quite frankly something that David even spoke to, in the
Yeah.
fact that that reserve fund can be used for in very simple terms, anything that council so deems. Right, so it would have to come to the Heritage Committee, and then if you go to council, the council can move a motion to say this amount of money of the Heritage Reserve Fund can be for X. That being said, it is something that would require the establishment of a structure. I do think that's kind of where David was going on to, if that is one avenue of consideration.
And Shelley is just our events coordinators.
Right.
Well, I don't know if I think they have their hands full as it is.
Correct, right, and that's kind of the dilemma where no denying that this event was a success, but what does it look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Right, how does the legacy keep building? And just even being honest with planning schedule, you know, when we have zoning bylaw reviews or land use studies, and quite frankly, even other heritage matters going on, such as even the opportunity to designate any more properties prior to the provincial deadline, things like that. These are all things that, again, we just need to be mindful of where the priority lies for some of this more detailed event management stuff, because that's really what's was time consuming. Quite frankly, I think we all want to participate. That's definitely not even a question. We want to be there. We want to be participants. We want to even deliver speeches or addresses or be part of it. But it's the vendor recruitment, from what I've seen over the long term, and just the administrative, the bureaucracy, room bookings, marketing, that propels one event from good to phenomenal overall.
Well, we've had a lot of committees with substitutes
Right.
in all of our trails to plan access. So is that something?
Perhaps. Yeah.
Perhaps. And people do not have to be members of this committee.
But I think, through you, Madam Chair, that is a good point too.
You
The
need, but you
Heritage
would
Committee-
need somebody from this committee to at least.
Right, because the truth of the matter is the Heritage Advisory Committee is subject to tournament. You know, it's usually a 2-year cycle. Right? Yeah, things happen, whatever. So if there is something more fixed, was that a fixed committee for the parks, or I'm not sure how that structure
Well,
worked,
and it
right?
may be that Shelley wears this special that's supposed to, maybe that she could just put a process in place. And then it's followed.
You know, I'm trying to be, obvious recognition townwide. I hear from residents, we've heard at this table, is that there's bigger things coming. There's, David's idea for rail and some great ideas behind that too. And so we also got to be mindful of empowering the public too, right? So that's where perhaps the reserve fund, and I think not to directly quote Dave Ryan, but I think the plans to involve AHS. And it's a good opportunity now to have this sort of all just get dialogue, forming some of that so that there's a game plan.
And David is a one-time event. So we might be able to find some money for that, but this would be, $350,000. I'd like to have it, but it's not gonna go
Yeah, so through Madam Chair, doing a very, very basic desktop level review of what other municipalities have done. Again, kudos to this Heritage Committee, because I truly don't believe any other Heritage Committee did something to this degree. I'm aware of like nonprofit boards or London Council, they call them London Heritage Council. So there's these third-party organizations out there that sometimes play a role too, from our desktop study. But
we had 3 people put this together.
oh, absolutely, yeah, it was phenomenal.
Which is, they need to be sincerely thanked, but that's not.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's a scheme. Yes. Okay, well.
Yeah, to remember your name.
But open to comments and questions I can make, because this is definitely gonna have to be a team effort. This is a good opportunity to address the situation and plan proactively together.
Bob?
Little job well done to the report. Just the biennial is at the moment, that would be my thinking, is maybe every 2 years. Then I have open to ideas of what we could do if it's annual. It's just,
Yeah.
Whether it would be a whole new 300 people that could come out, we could repeat, or
Yes, so through Madam Chair,
Yeah, maybe that's.
that crossed my mind too, biannually, based on just whatever, forecasted needs one year or the other. But I don't necessarily think that's ideal. I think it would be great to do it annually.
Yeah.
I wrote biannually as a last case resort,
Okay.
right? So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Through Madam Chair, so when we had our debrief meeting, one of the things that we talked about was that potentially, in order to avoid repetition, because that's one of the concerns, right? You don't want to run the same event every year. Choose select themes. So for example, the year that rail happens,
That would
the
be
theme of
the thing.
Heritage Week could also be
Yeah.
reflective of that. Alternatively, other examples of themes might be the role of women in Aurora's history, or what it was like to be a child in Aurora, or sports in Aurora history. So if we reinvent the theme every year, then we're not doing something that's already been done. And then at least there's a thematic starting point, which will help us spearhead looking for vendors and speakers, because otherwise you're just casting the net to everybody versus, if we know we're looking at the impact of sports and Aurora's history, then we know that there's a certain niche that we're looking for. So that was one option that we threw around. And I know that John and Rocco and I, not John and Rocco and I, talked about connecting with the events department of the town and offering our assistance if we are prepared to do that again. I'm prepared to do it again. I don't know about these two, but I think they would be.
Well, we would have to find, thank you, we would have to find out if they're prepared to
Exactly.
hear anything.
That's right.
And yeah, through Madam Chair, that is
And that's
a great point, and that's where kind of I am at. I have had discussions with our cultural services team, and a great example, I think, too, is the most recent Doors Open, which really was a collaborative effort. I would say, it was cultural services as well as planning, as well as this heritage committee, and it kind of, in some ways, was less of a burden in terms of the administration of the committee itself and the working group and things like that. We could just be volunteers, just help.
Yeah, no, whatever you, can anybody else do this? Yes, no.
Of course.
Be very worthwhile.
Yes.
We'll leave it in your hands for the moment. Now, Linda, when do we go all through? Are we
June.
doing 8? Do we continue all through until the new committee?
This is a year, I renew 7.
Yeah, so it's the same as with accessibility. The advisory committee, just continue.
We're done in 27. That's the list.
Well, you're done when the new committee gets appointed,
Right.
which would probably be April
27 or 28?
27.
27.
Okay. Bob, did you ever read it?
Just only. No, just very briefly, in the discussion regarding reviewing the Heritage Week, and somebody said if we could use each event to focus on a particular group or whatever, and my immediate response or feeling was, that's fine, but we don't want to do it so it excludes other people where they say, well, if you're going to talk about that, I'm not bothering to come. That's it.
No.
So I mean, this might sound wow, but if it's all focused on women, then the men will probably say, why am I going to go?
Well, that would be very sad. The men chose not to go because it was about women. I mean, not surprising necessarily, but sad.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
If you Madam Chair, like if it's, this is a pretty open conversation too, I guess. John, through the AHS, if there is opportunities, I'm sure we can discuss further then. So,
Yeah, and the cultural center
absolutely, yes.
and the library. Okay. Do I have to do anything then?
Early.
Yes, I do. We have to take a vote. Official. on the agenda.
One question.
Of course.
To you, Madam Chair, to Adam, so where do we go from here? We just wait?
In terms of the event management moving forward,
Yeah.
so through Madam Chair, I am currently waiting to hear back from those departments that I've all reached out to. I mean, at least some have different, we all have different priorities, they have different priorities. I think the library, their hours are different on when we held Heritage Week, just little things like that too. But regardless, yes, the call's being put out there essentially. And yeah, we'll try and land somewhere and I can report back. But
It was very rewarding and I really loved that. It was a lot of work, but
It was fun.
it was fun.
yeah,
Oh.
It's a good distraction.
What was that?
Maybe limit it to a number of people.
exactly,
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
difference.
That's right, 'cause I remember.
We were confined to
Yes.
3 people plus.
That's right, because that's why I did doors
That was
open,
the law.
you know.
That was the law.
Couldn't help with that.
So,
It was hard, it was difficult.
and yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I think I'll give credit to David in his presentation. He came up with that 7 advisory panel thing as well. I think that's certainly something to explore. If that's, I think I can say anyone at this table if they want to work collaboratively on that effort, so be it as well. So there's avenues. And
There's, yes, we just need people. Thank you, that's great. Okay, I will call the vote. All those in favor of receiving presentation? Okay, so now we're coming to new business. Oh, we have 2 items actually, the plaques and the celebration of the railway. So, you know, I really, it would be so much better to discuss this at the time presentation. Does anybody have any feedback? Could be on either item. See, I had all these ideas after the delegation.
My, through you, Madam Chair, my question to anybody that could answer this is those, the 2 delegations, where do we go from here? And this is where I kind of miss where, you know, we talk about it, but you know, what happens next?
Adam, you heard about the plaques. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
And it's actually a shame that we haven't done a better job with it.
yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, I would have to meet with the delegate. I'm always open to the meeting just to understand mapping software and what he's working on. Because yes, we do have a heritage, right? We have a heritage map. We have that available. So I'm not sure if plaquing certainly takes it to the next level. I'd be happy to do that. The one thing to be mindful of certain development applications where plaques were a condition of approval, those are legal agreements.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not even privy to public disclosure on matters of site plan agreements.
But they eventually have to show up.
Yeah, eventually. So that could be the explanation as to some gaps in information, maybe some still active planning applications with conditions to fulfill and things like that.
It wouldn't be a budget item, because certainly we could use our
Yeah,
reserve fund
no
for
budget.
that. So, so what is the next step?
The next step, through you, Madam Chair, is I can circulate a heritage map that is available to the committee members and consult our GIS team to build on that map with all the required information that's publicly available in terms of listed status, designated status, but then beyond that too, the plaques and things like that.
But we have, as John, it was more than a couple of years ago, when we did that heritage assessment for what it is, should be designated, whatnot. So we have a listing of all those properties.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, yes, we have.
So
We have all the data. I believe the delegate is trying to make it more visually attractive, perhaps.
So we were not starting from nothing.
No,
We have
absolutely.
the foundation.
So through you, Madam Chair, we know which houses should get a 150-year-old plaque on the inside, and we have to approach those people. Is that what we're talking about?
It was, the people who did, there was a recommendation what homes should be designated with profit. And we had, I don't know, maybe 11 property owners come forward and say they didn't want to be designated, and there were various reasons. And so the list that we have now, everybody agrees that they want to be designated. So it's just a matter of, I mean, we can't make them have a plaque, but we certainly can offer it.
But the ones that the delegate had mentioned that didn't have a plaque, you know, or they've been torn down or whatever, are we working just to put new plaques on these places?
So through you, Madam Chair, I believe the delegate spoke of the sesquicentennial plaques previously.
Yeah.
Which truthfully, I'm not aware of that program,
Okay.
as I said back then. But then I believe this presentation, I think, just to go right off the title, was about interpretive plaques, which is something very similar to what we've approved for 1012 Spruce Street, where there's a new build and there's gonna be a pole mounted plaque with a bit of a storytelling feature.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that's what today's item was about. And that's because my comment before about site plan agreements, in that event of Spruce, there was no site plan agreement, it was just us, heritage permit. We got to review it, very public, very easy. Sometimes, especially huge subdivisions, like say, I think Addison Hill or Addison Hall, excuse me, or some of the other larger ones, those conditions that may still be embedded in those active applications. So as the developer phases their development, they then have to come in at the last stage to erect a plaque, an interpretive plaque. So sometimes there's missing information, not missing from our end per se, but just in terms of the conditions timing being fulfilled as that development comes to fruition. And that plaque gets installed usually as the last thing after construction, so it doesn't get knocked
when
down
everything's been
by a tractor or something like that. So I think that's what
That's what this was today?
interpretive plaques.
We use QR codes.
So, through you, Madam Chair, the interpretive plaque, using 1012 Spruce as the latest example,
Have a lot on
we wrote a 3 to 5 sentence story, right? And I do think that is the best way to have someone interact with the plaque. QR codes, I know is something that the museum staff have played with on more of a cultural services realm of like a guided walking tour through an interactive walking tour, the on the spot website, like just things like that. QR codes probably are more beneficial. But I do, this is just my opinion, open to any other things on committee for like
Well,
a
it should
bronze
be-
plaque. Probably not.
And also, the Madam Chair, a QR code on that kind of material over time isn't
Or
aware.
not,
Before going about it,
Yeah.
Okay.
it'll stop working, so then you're replacing it, which is a nightmare.
If I could just,
Sorry, so not on the plaques.
if I could just say, because of that survey we did 1.5 years ago, or whatever it was, one of the things that came up was some people said, no, I don't want to be recognized. And the feedback tended to be two things. One, I don't want people coming along and looking at my house. But the more important one was, if I sign up, as it were, to become a recognized heritage building, I'm going to have to agree that anything that's done, repairs or whatever, have to be approved and matched. And the thing is, it was costing money. So my point here is, if we can somehow incorporate the Heritage Fund to say to these people, look, if you do need repairs, please come to see us because we may be able to help. I don't know, you're shaking your head. Do you know that?
Certainly, Madam Chair, that is precisely why the mayor moved motion or council passed motion to create the Heritage Grant Program. So that Heritage Grant Program specifically targets designated properties to try and entice those that are listed.
That's good. That's already been built.
Yeah.
That's
And we, to the credit of Chris Watts, we delegated about the Knowles Butcher Shop. That is something where the owner previously did not support designation when we knocked on their door and tried to pursue that. I made them aware of this program. If they have gone a little silent on me, but that's something that property is currently listed as of now, and that's something that if council chooses to designate that property. Window is tightening, but at the same time, they then would be eligible for grant improvements to perhaps reinvigorate that facade feature as well.
Okay, well, any information you can provide in the future.
Adam, how many staff, how many heritage planners are in the heritage department?
Heritage Department.
For you, Madam Chair, there's 0.5 persons.
Ta-da!
Just half.
Which depends on the days.
Yeah, we used to have a designated heritage plan.
That's right.
No, and to give them credit, they helped us along the way. But that's where we're at. Okay. We don't have to, we don't have to vote. So then we have the celebration of railroad coming to Aurora. That's it. It's really interesting.
Hopefully Metrolinx will be out of that area. Oh my gosh. Through this year.
Yeah, Rod Reese is watching. He's on Metrolinx stuff where he's arranged meeting shortly, very shortly.
He's hiding behind us.
Yeah, he knew I would bring that one up.
So, yeah, through Madam Chair on that item, like this, the timing is good. Because I have my report saying, just simply from a resourcing capacity perspective, I couldn't do it justice for Dave's vision. So, there needs to be some more dedicated attention to this on the horizon here, and through AHS or through the Heritage Reserve Fund. If that's something that council needs to do a motion on or something.
Well, I don't know, because then are we gonna have 200th anniversary or 200 plus? Like, I think.
You're not even smiling at me. How are you, Madam Chair? 7 presidents, that's fine. So every 25 years you do something.
Well, I don't know. So let's start with this.
Yeah.
It'll be up to future councils. But yeah, let's go for it. We didn't have, well, we had the sesquicentennial. But that had nothing to do through.
So, Madam Chair, what happens though to do something?
That's so 3 Madam Chair, that's what I was gonna say too, is, you know, there's sometimes role confusion in this event management space because we are the heritage community, they're heritage-esque events, but then we're focused on Ontario Heritage Act. Our terms of reference literally says Ontario Heritage Act, and we can do some participation or some education. We can attend these events for that. So that's where, you know, for this particular rail item, if David can form your 7-member group and they then come back and make the request through the Heritage Reserve Fund, that would be something that council would then have to consider as, or sorry, through the AHS, I should say, there's some sort of marriage there, I suppose, for funding streams to the AHS to support this 175 effort. And the AHS, as a nonprofit charitable organization, has a bit more scope in terms of funding or event management, and then we can all support under that.
So that's an application. Is somebody good at, anybody just good at writing grant applications? They are.
Well, I can always look into it.
It's their challenging.
May I, Madam Chair?
Yeah, sure.
So I've had, as I said, extensive meetings. One of the meetings I've had with is the curator of the Aurora Historical Society, and we've already discussed a partnership this summer, utilizing the grounds of Hillary House. We also discussed.
Dana, I'm going to stop you for a minute. We need a motion.
Sorry.
our official end is 9 o'clock, so we need a motion to extend it for 15 minutes. And always extend, let's go for 15 minutes. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you.
So I've already had a meeting with the curator of the Aurora Historical Society in regards to sitting down together and writing potential grants, which the Historical Society would benefit. I have had expertise before working with others who have gotten sizable, extensive grants. I mean, I did a lot of grants when I went to Seneca. So again, a lot of the footwork of me finding community partners. Getting that grant, by the way, will take the Aurora Farmers Market. The grant strength is going to be in the teamwork.
Yeah.
And literally, the Aurora AHS is the key because the majority of the grants coming from the government, of course, or financial institutions, you must be an NFP. So for us to slide under the umbrella, I've noticed that recently with the Cultural Center, these groups announcing working alongside us. This is similar. Only it's a much bigger scope. This is a big scope. And the main reason why I'm bringing this forward, tourism, and there's a lot of this to be made. We know what I've talked about, we know from a marketing standpoint, this could be huge for the community. So, stories sell, this is a huge story. And I'm not even seeing Toronto right now jumping in just yet. I will be meeting with their big historian in regards to linking Aurora to Toronto and us working together and a future meeting with the Toronto Council or that particular ward to discuss linking that. So
Thank you for your work.
thank you.
So you.
I do like them.
No. So you'll keep Adam updated. You can report back to us.
Now, if I could clear one thing, the 7-member committee, it's actually 5. And when you slide, let's say, under an advisory board or that link, that NFP, usually it's their treasurer and somebody with sort of a legal entity that may have on the board that will take those last advisory positions. So they're the overseer at all times to make sure the money's straight and administratively and legal straight and everything. So literally the committee doesn't touch the money, it's administrated through the legal not-for-profit. So to keep it all above board and to be able to access that big money. Like I said, that $250,000 grant, I've spent so many hours on it. I'm just ticking off these boxes going, we could kill writing this.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want any skullduggery at the crossroads.
No, I don't want that either.
Did you ask, Councilor Gallo?
Just in terms of timing this, how many more meetings is this gonna be?
Well, we'll keep going, John. This committee will stay in place. Yeah.
And for council to make decisions of this nature.
For the celebration, for the trip.
Well, in order to get this thing off the ground, you need a council resolution, I suspect.
Yes, so.
And in June.
We don't really need, do we need, I guess if this committee is involved.
To use funds from the reserve fund requires a council motion.
And my point.
So thank you, John.
June,
We need to get. We need
So
your.
can I just ask my question?
Course.
So in my opinion, it needs to move quickly, something needs to happen at council quickly.
Yeah.
And then after council makes a decision, then things can proceed. But if council doesn't make a decision before we're lamed up, 6 months is gonna go by. And you're wasting all the 6 months.
Well, we only have really till June then. So, can you, does it come through a staff report? How does it come?
No, it can be a council, so through that motion, it could be this organization, simply a council moving a motion, or it doesn't particularly.
Can we make that motion?
So through Madam Chair, the Heritage Reserve Fund stipulates that the Heritage Committee is involved, as we are right now discussing this. I feel there's general support for an event like this. So then, yes, any council can bring a motion.
Okay, so it has to come from the council.
Yes.
So we wouldn't have to, sorry, Madam Chair, we wouldn't have to be a delegation at a council meeting.
No,
One of
so,
the councilors can propose it. Yeah, that's what I understand.
and do we have to approve the money, or do we have to suggest?
So it's pretty much here, so any funds spent from the reserve fund have to be approved by council. You can say whatever number you want, or as little as possible.
I'm happy to work on this motion.
Okay,
So
okay,
to
John,
move the ball forward for the May.
okay, perfect, so,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
And that's
Chair, I would like to
I
say.
just want to add one last thing, and this is to something John Green said at the debrief. One of the reasons starting early, we're in tough economic times. We know that, not just for the community, but for those potential partners. A lot of the organizations that I'm reaching out to within the region that are connected to trades, a lot of them are small organizations and they're struggling. So we're going to need to give them time as well and support. This is what going after this bigger grant.
So from next.
So we're going to have to pull them in. And, you know, again, I call it puddle jump tourism, as John, we talked about, right? Pulling people in from maybe about 100 radius. You know, it's going to get harder. We need to start early.
Okay, great.
so just 3 Madam Chair for just clear points of consistency or clarity. Heritage Reserve Fund and the use of the money has to be reviewed by Heritage Committee, but this being in of itself checks that. I think this is public dialogue into the rail initiative, and comments around the table can be provided. From there, it's up to David and John to organize yourselves in a capacity that can then be able to couple with Councillor Geller's motion to receive said funding at said amount through that entrepreneurship.
But do you let John and I know when the last time, or everybody know when the last time any money was used from that fund?
Yes, so off the top of my head, Patch House was used for that. And we use our Heritage Grant applications through that as well. So the Heritage Grant applications this year totaled $15,000. So we're still well above two. Well below. So backtracking 50 out of 300, we're close to 285.
Madam Chair, doesn't the grant money get back in the budget to get back into the account back for expenses? Or are you just like,
No, so
once it's gone, it's gone?
through you, Madam Chair, the Heritage Reserve is sometimes replenished by contributions from developers.
Oh, I see, that's
And
what
that's how it
like,
gets replenished.
understood, okay. That's the only way. So we're just giving it out for the Aurora grant
Program.
It's just a, and it goes.
Always subject to council's approval. If they
Agreed,
feel
yeah.
that they don't want to this year, they have that.
But that's how it works.
If you want to make a donation of $1 million,
We do that.
you could do that, no problem.
Thanks very much for that.
And yeah, I don't know how many donations are gonna be to that in the future.
Because everything's slow.
You never know.
No, I
There's
know, but
always-
we can't count.
Yeah.
So we have to check it too. Okay, motion to adjourn. Oh, no, a motion to adjourn, better word. One,
15 minutes isn't up yet. Sorry, I have one other new business.
okay,
Just through the Madam Chair, question to Adam. Just wonder if there's been any movement on way of designating the location of Aurora's one and only heritage district, such as street signs.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, through economic development's capital project for wayfinding signage, they looped me in a couple of weeks ago. I met with their consultant and said, as part of this exercise, let's prioritize some wayfinding and some signage in downtown. So that's something that's currently being explored as a location, desirable location in town. Yes, from a tourist perspective side as well. I believe you may also be referring just to the actual signs themselves, the street signs.
two decides what they look like.
Because I think there's a number of residents in the area that think we have enough signs, speed humps and speeds and no parking. And parking, that if the actual street sign that says Maple Street had some characteristic that was different from the rest of the
Like the
town.
ones downtown, yeah, the functional or more so we can.
So,
Yeah, but we're not gonna do all street sign over it.
So, sorry to ask you, Chris, so through you, Madam Chair, that would be a capital budget request. I can speak to operations to see what kind of costing they have. So, maybe inventory, the number of signs, the preferred design, and things like that, but it would be a capital project.
I guess if there's no money, even a sticker on the sign.
Well, I was thinking that,
Somehow.
also we might be able to use something from the Heritage Reserve.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no, so through you, Madam Chair, yes. it's
Come out
entirely-
there,
entirely fine, yes.
council has to
But it's still
approve it,
considered
okay.
capital.
Okay, so there's money there, council has to approve it.
And
The sign, I think the street signs would be,
wayfinding signage, what I try to communicate to the consulting team too is that it doesn't necessarily need to interfere with existing signage, existing stop signs and street signs, but just sort of a gateway presence too, right? Not necessarily directly in passive traffic or foot traffic or anything like that, but just something that's recognizable and distinguishable. So through that project as well, if that satisfies some of what you're talking about, that could be an option. That's already has a capital budget, already has some work going on early stages. But the next meeting I have with them, we can maybe meet together and meet with the ratepayers group and have them make a presentation or something as well.
And I just throw in terms of minutes or whatever, that it's because it's the 20th anniversary of the district existing. 2006.
oh my goodness, we did it in Phil's. That's,
With Michael Seaman.
that's a lot. Okay, we're voting to adjourn, right? All those in favor? Thank you. Yeah, we had some amazing.
Couldn't we roll in, we find is